What up everyone, it's your boy X-Man87 here bringing you another Marvel Legends video, and what I have for you today is the Marvel Legends X-Men Wave Bonebreaker Build-A-Figure Series Vulcan action figure review. Before I get into everything, if you could please leave a thumbs up, like rating on the video, it'll help show your support for my channel and I greatly appreciate it. Now, with that said, I'm here to bring you another 1-2 punch of the Uncanny X-Man-y story time, and then we'll take a look at the figure. Let's go! Gabriel Summers, aka Vulcan, first appeared in X-Men Deadly Genesis, issue number 1 in 2006, and was created by Ed Brubaker and Trevor Hairsine. Vulcan's origins begin when the parents of Scott and Alex Summers, known as Corsair and Catherine Summers, were kidnapped by the Shi'ar Empire. Catherine was killed by the Ken, ruler of the Shi'ar Empire, but her unborn child survived. He would be enslaved by the Shi'ar and placed in an incubation accelerator to speed up his age, where he would manifest his mutant powers imminently. Gabriel was sent to Earth to serve the Shi'ar agent named Eric the Red to be his successor. Gabriel managed to escape and was found by geneticist Moira McTaggart. She invited him to join her secret X-Men team of young mutants under her tutelage, in which Gabriel accepted the offer and took on the name Vulcan. In Deadly Genesis, it was believed for years that the living island of Krakoa let Cyclops escape in order to bring more mutants to feed on, and was defeated by the new X-Men team formed by Xavier. However, Xavier had staged a prior attempt at a rescue mission by using the secret X-Men team Moira had been training, consisting of Darwin, Petra, and Sway, with Vulcan at the helm. The entire team was killed in battle as they freed Cyclops. In truth, Darwin had absorbed Petra and Sway upon their death, in which he converted himself into energy to fuse with Vulcan. The two survived off their teammates' powers in suspended animation deep within the island. Cyclops was so distraught with the death of his newly discovered brother that he confronted Xavier about knowing that his brother was kept a secret from him, as Xavier never told him about Gabriel, then sending him off to a suicide mission. Tired of Xavier's abundance of lies and secrets, he can no longer be trusted. Therefore, Cyclops and Emma Frost kick Xavier out of his own institute after garnering support from their fellow X-Men allies, and now they take over leadership of the X-Men. This is what sparked the feud between Cyclops and Xavier, which ultimately led to Cyclops killing Xavier in Avengers vs. X-Men as we know. When Scarlet Witch depowered the majority of the mutant population during the aftermath of House of M decimation, the resulting power surge awakened Vulcan. Seeking to lure out Xavier from hiding after feeling betrayed, Vulcan goes on a destructive path of villainy, injuring Cyclops, Wolverine, as well as killing Banshee in the process. Vulcan got to confront Xavier, who was able to reveal what happened on Krakoa thanks to the assist from Rachel Summers. Vulcan leaves Earth to destroy the Shi'ar Empire when he learned the Ken was his mom's murderer. This led to the rise and fall of the Shi'ar Empire. The Ken was in a catatonic state, therefore his sister Lalandra took the reins until he awakens. When Vulcan arrived, he was quickly humbled by the Imperial Guard as Gladiator ripped his eye out. He then ended up falling in love with the Ken and Lalandra's sister, Deathbird, so the two ended up getting married, receiving the blessings from the Ken after he awakened from his coma. On their wedding day, the X-Men and Starjammers crashed the wedding to shut down Vulcan for good. However, they failed at their mission as Vulcan got his revenge by seemingly killing Xavier, not officially, as he was secretly saved by Darwin, who was actually Vulcan's best man at his wedding, so his best friend has now betrayed him. But he achieved his mission in killing the Ken by burning off his face. Taking the crown off his dead body, he proclaimed himself as the new Shi'ar Majester. After his rampage, he didn't stop there. One of his first actions as ruler involved killing his father Corsair and imprisoning some X-Men like Polaris and his brother Havoc. Vulcan promised to restore the Shi'ar Empire to its former glory. Establishing himself as a true X-Men villain, now going by the name Emperor Vulcan, follows the War of Kings storyline, where he shined even more as the magnitude of his character evolved, pushing the heights of Marvel's cosmic universe to another level after its grand epic Annihilation titles. So to condense this story involving Vulcan's part as best as I can, after the Skrull invasion on Earth, the Inhumans planned on taking revenge on the Skrulls. As they attacked the Skrulls, 3 Shi'ar vessels were destroyed in the process. Vulcan decided to take action and retaliate by sending the Imperial Guard to attack the Inhumans. Crystal of the Inhumans royal family was set to marry Ronan the Accuser in order to unify the Inhumans and Kree together. Another wedding gets crashed here with an assault led by Emperor Vulcan, in which started this intense feud between him and Black Bolt. In the midst between all of this, a Shi'ar civil war took place. In one of the most brutal and fatal battles, both Black Bolt and Vulcan ended up dead after their hellacious fight. The War of Kings has ended, and Gladiator was crowned the new Majester of the Shi'ar Empire. And that's as far as we're gonna go, since Vulcan was resurrected in the House of X story arc, so don't want to spoil anything for readers who are catching up to recent books. For powers and abilities, Vulcan is a beyond Omega level mutant according to Emma Frost. He can manipulate all forms of energy. Professor X commented that he's the most powerful energy manipulator he ever came across, to the point where it's a god tier level. For instance, in War of Kings, Adam Warlock admitted defeat as Vulcan drained off all his energy, as magic is an exotic form of energy. Though his brothers, Cyclops and Havoc, are known to be immune to each other's powers, they are not immune to Vulcan. Being able to control esoteric energy like Cyclops' Optic Force Blast and redirect it back at him was seemingly unheard of at this point, that anyone can do that to Cyclops. He can solidify his energy fields into force fields and other shapes. The effect of his energy constructs could be used to simulate a form of telekinesis. Amazingly, his energy constructs can even take the form of people. According to information from his creator Ed Brubaker, Vulcan had a, in quote, hidden potential, which allows him to fully generate and have control over the 7 elements: fire, earth, electricity, wind, water, darkness, and light. Due to these supposed intended abilities, it can be argued that Vulcan is a match for other godlike heroes or villains such as Silver Surfer or Onslaught. The tyrannical emperor and Third Summer's brother Vulcan has appeared in a total of 285 issues. Finally, after 10 years, we're getting a replacement for that Bucky Cat mold, because they're gonna retire it. Well, at least that's what they say. I'm not relying on that, because they've said that many times before in the past that they're gonna phase that out, and it's never happened. So yeah, the real true Marvel Legends fans like myself, we're gonna celebrate, because we rarely get new body molds for comic book figures. Paying attention to the reception of this figure being praised, some people don't like it. Most people like it from what I gathered. But sooner or later, everyone's gonna turn on this, just like they did with the Bucky Cat mold. Especially if they keep milking it and milking it and milking it. Now, if you're gonna ask me, hey Manny, are you a fan of this new body mold? And I gotta say, I do like it, but there are things that I don't like about it. So I'm definitely gonna, share my likes and dislikes about it. I will bring out some of the other body bugs to compare, because I feel like that's very important to do, and especially when it comes to the Bucky Cat mold. So I'll just grab his brother Cyclops here. So a lot of things that I do like. So for instance, if you look at the deltoids right here, right, the shoulders, you see that like big gap between the traps and the deltoid muscle here. And over here, it's like smoothed out. You see that? There's no big funky gaps there. Like, this dude had freaking boulder shoulders right here, and this is more lean. I like his build. You know what his physique reminds me of? Randy Orton from WWE. He really looks like that. It looks more athletic to me, more than a crazy superhero build. It just reminds me of Randy Orton's physique because of these long legs. And it is definitely taller than the Bucky Cat mold, as you can see. And I feel like it's mainly because of the hips. If they shaved this down probably 1 to 2 millimeters, then it'll be brought down to this size. Because yes, I do feel like he does have long thighs, and you can see obviously the knees are a bit low here. The calves look fine to me. I definitely like the oblique muscles here lined up more than I do this one. I just feel like it's moved out. The crotch rides a little high up, but that's okay, because this dude is like hung down. Like, as you can see, you see where the freaking Bucky Cat gap is? That is bad, whereas this, it just looks smoothed out, right? It definitely looks like everything flows together. And it's very sturdy, which I like, because the Bucky Cat mold has so many problems with very, jiggly legs, and the sturdiness of this, I feel like we're not going to get any QC issues like we did with the Bucky Cat mold. Like the warped knees, obviously, because Pinless will prevent that from happening. That's the cure to warped joints. Look at the Bucky Cap torso. As you can see Cyclops right here. You can see my blue poster board in the back. There's this big gap in there. You don't get that here. No gaps. So like when you stand them together, there's no like funky gaps at the thighs, because if I brought Havoc, or let me see, Spider-Man for example, right here on the retro body, you can see that's a very big gap between the thighs. But let me bring his brother Havoc, just for a better example, because I feel like the White Suit 2099 body, which this is based off, is better than the retro one as far as like, you know, the crotch thigh gap area. Going back to the shoulders, we do get butterfly joints with this guy. We didn't get it with the Bucky Cap mold, and so many characters were put on the Bucky Cap mold that could have been benefited from the butterfly joints. For instance, like a Daredevil, they didn't go with a double diaphragm joint for this. I feel like that should have been standard, you know, the upper rocker torso and the inverted ab crunch. But that's not to say they can't, you know, modify it later. I know that is going to be the standard going forward, but that doesn't mean it's going to be the same thing like this over and over again. Remember the Bucky Cap mold, we've seen characters with new torsos on those legs. So for example, Baron Zemo, that's one of the latest I can think of. He has the Bucky Cap legs, but new torso and such. So, or new legs on this torso, you know, arms, etc. You know, they're gonna switch it up. So I wouldn't worry too much about it. Aesthetic wise, I think he looks good. You know, more of my problems come with the functionality, but I'll get to that in a second. I still want to cover some parts of the body right here. Now, I heard some folks say that the butterfly joints are useless, and I totally disagree. Totally disagree. Because you can bring his arms completely forward. As you can see, his hands meet each other right there. They touch each other. So, boom, you know, great range there. And then you could bring them back. And this is me pushing the limits, okay? All right, look at this. That looks natural. Now, if I take this guy, try extending your arms back just like this, and what's gonna feel more realistic? This is more realistic. There's no way a human can extend his arms that far back like that. This is definitely much more natural. I mean, come on, look at that. It's a big difference right there. You know, some folks complain about the shoulders on this body, but you know, it does help with the articulation, because I mean, if you extend his arm up, you could get anything higher than a T-pose. You are really good for, you know, a lot of posing. Can he move his arms higher than a T-pose? Yes, he can. And that is, again, very important. You know, the Bucky Cap, barely. You know, barely. So, again, you get more range. Now, you know me. I care about articulation more. I actually like a combination of articulation and sculpt. That's me. You know, everyone has their own cup of tea. Bars. The guy doesn't have any prominent veins, only on his biceps right there, so you can see that. The Bucky Cap had it on the biceps and heavily on the pecs right there, too. I don't get how some folks are saying that this mold is way too plain. Like, what are they expecting? I mean, it's a dude in spandex. Like, what do you want? Sculpted nipples? Like, I really don't know what else you want other than, like, the actual physique. I don't know what people expect sometimes. They want this top part of the design sculpted out, because that wouldn't work with the butterfly joints. Again, it's a skin-tight costume. Maybe it can, but if it did, it would restrict more movement. And I do want to point out some complaints that I've seen out there that I want to address, because I want to just, you know, put my perspective on things. I know one of them was that the arms don't move straight down like the Bucky Cap mold, because this stays curved. So here's my take on that, okay? When you work on your biceps, it's naturally gonna pull your forearms. So honestly, it's never gonna stay straight naturally when you're in a natural, relaxed stance. You know, the biceps look so much better too, much bulkier. You know, the forearms too. One thing about the forearm as well is that there's a cut. So yeah, there is some sculpt onto this as well. And this is great because if anyone had a glove on a Bucky Cap body mold, you know, they would paint over it. As you see here, you could see that the paint goes into the pins right here. And since it's pinless, you know, as you can see the bottom right there, since it's pinless, you don't have to worry about that, one. And then two, since it's sculpted right here, we're always going to get some clean paint for, you know, anyone who has gloves. So yeah, that's one benefit there. Not saying it's going to be the cure to paint QC, but it's the little advancements like this that really matters to me. Since we have these guys already lined up at their side profiles, one thing I will know, I think the Bucky Cap chest is better in depth. You see that right there, where this looks a little bit flat. Not too bad. You know, again, he's in a skin-tight costume, because when you compare him to the AOA Magneto, yeah, the chests are about the same. So I think this body will be good for like overlays and such with characters that have capes. Yo, hold up. I think I just found my Magneto mold that I would love. I think this could work for Magneto. I'm just trying to picture how they would put the Magneto boots on these same legs, or they'll probably go with new legs altogether if they decide to go this route. But, you know, these long legs can definitely benefit for other characters. Ooh, you know who I'm thinking? Oh, Exodus. Exodus is one of my most favorite X-Men characters. So definitely he's on my Marvel Legends wish list. And I remember him having these kind of like long legs. So this could work. Especially since Exodus will have like an overlay right here that you could put over the chest, and you know, it would go very well with the proportions on this. So yeah, man, I'm just sorry. I'm just thinking ahead right now. I'm just examining the hell out of this body. So this is a different formula from my usual format of how I review things. So I do like the way the neck looks, the way the trap looks. Again, all this flows nicely. Yeah, another thing are the feet, because, you know, the Bucky Cap feet were kind of small, so they are a little bigger on this one, actually much bigger. But you might have some issues with this guy standing, and I'll show you in a bit. Again, my issue is more with function than the looks. As we take a break from examining the body, let's take a close look at this head sculpt, because it came out phenomenal, man. It really did. I love the hair sculpt. It looks great. So good. The head is a nice size on the body. And then the jawline structure on this face, wow, it's impressive. Got the eyebrows there looking sharp. His eyes came out really freaking cool. You know, the yellow pupils and the reddish orange around the yellow pupils came out nice. Now for accessories, he comes with 2 interchangeable hands, and you already saw these fists. And then you get the 2 open hands, which one looks like a relaxed hand, and the other looks more of an action style kind of hand. Now, to go over articulation, which, you know, is going to be more of a comparison articulation. I think I did something like this before, but you'll get the flow once you see me move along. So, all right, his head moves all the way up, and it's on a neck hinge, so you're always going to get more range out of that than the regular dumbbell joints. And as you can see, you could get him looking further up than on the Bucky Cap mold. So, definitely great for flight, right? And then it moves that far down. As you can see, more range right there. You could tuck his chin in between his pecs. Left, right, you know, some tilt. I showed you the T-pose comparison with the Bucky Cap mold, so, you know, I'll skip on that since he moves up further than a T-pose. The arm swing all around. I showed you the butterfly joint comparison. You don't have the butterfly joints on the Bucky Cap bicep swivel, double jointed pinless elbows, and look at that range, man. You cannot get that with Bucky Cap at all. And so you got the wrist swivel, wrist hinge, and just to show you the difference with the ab crunch compared to the Bucky Cap mold, you can see that you get a lot more forward crunch with this one. And on the back, I guess the Bucky Cap still had that big gap, so the Bucky Cap still lives on with this one. And then Bucky Cap could barely move back. So again, you get a lot more range with this one. Everything's okay there. Now, the torso. This is what I don't like. Now, you crunch it. You probably see what I'm seeing. Let me take the AOA Magneto figure, right? Look how this flows naturally. There's no interference. Everything is curved beautifully. Why is this sticking out? That looks bad. I don't understand. Like, this is basically the same range, so I don't understand, man. You got the torso that moves that far back, and again, look at that, bro. Look at this. And then you look at this. This looks more natural. What the hell, man? Looks like he has a freaking tumor growing out or something like that. I don't like that. You got the waist swivel, and you got the legs that move that far apart. So much better than the buggy cap, because the buggy cap could barely do splits, man. So, you know, you get a wider stance right there. And his legs can kick up a good amount. That's your kick party right there. Super kick party! If you watch AEW, then you understand the reference. And his legs hold on, they move outward, back, kind of the same as the buggy cap mold. So, you know, still more range here. You got the thigh swivel, double jointed pinless knees, and heel to the freaking Vulcan butt right there. Heel to the Emperor butt. So that's really good. And then you got the calf swivel, and the ankles move up, they move down. And here's the problem I run into. The freaking ankle pivot. What the hell? What the hell? It's like it doesn't even pivot. Like, it's supposed to be clicky. Like, this one, it's like a ratchet click. I feel it. It clicks. No problem there. This one just doesn't budge, and I'm afraid something's stuck there and it might break. Now, when I plant him and he's standing, the feet don't plant. What the hell is this? They don't plant because this pivot doesn't really want to work. And, you know, the ankle pivot that works on this one, the foot doesn't plant. You can see this. You see how it's sticking outward like that? If I try to click it over, whoop, one click, I gotta play by the clicks. This is annoying. That's not freaking cool. Also, about the ankle articulation, if I move them down for flight, look what happens. They just move outward like that. If I want a straight flying pose, it's so... Man, this thing is kind of wonky right there. I'm not feeling it. Because, you know, I gotta plant the feet for the posing. That's what I rely on. The gold on this plastic really sucks, man. You know, I definitely think they gotta go back and improve these ankles or this part of the boot section here. And then, you know, the gold belt. Again, plastic, not painted. And you get the red painted in there, though. Oh, you might not like the discoloring at the knees, so the elbows are a different red. It doesn't match the rest of the red costume. So I can see that being an eyesore for some. You know, sometimes I don't notice it. Sometimes I do notice it. It all depends on my lighting, especially when I was doing photography. And then we go back to the head. Wow, I really felt like I did a backwards review. I told you it was going to be different. So sorry if I was all over the place. There's just a lot to cover with this guy. Now, bringing out the Summers brothers, again, for comparison, I did measure these guys. So Vulcan stands at 6.5 inches, while the Bucky cap is 6.25 inches. So if this is standard going forward, I can only think that, again, this is just pure speculation on my part, that Marvel Legends might be upscaling a bit in size. Another thing I forgot to point out is that this body won't have a hole on the back like the Bucky cap mold. So I don't think there's going to be any more capes that have the pegs that can plug into the back. So I think they'll be more like the AOA Magneto, where it doesn't have that. You know, it just sits relaxed. Definitely got to show my 90s love here. And here is his Summers brothers again. We got the 90s X Factor Havoc and the 90s Jim Lee Cyclops. Now, I'm almost 101% positive that we'll get updated versions of Havoc and Cyclops in this body mold, so that way all the Summers can match in physique. Especially if you saw the Morph figure from the animated series, his legs are identical to this. The only thing is that he has the straps molded in. So that just tells me that we're definitely going to get an updated 90s Cyclops and a Havoc, hopefully sometime down the line. Now, bringing out some various body molds for comparison, we have that retro superposable Spider-Man. Warpath, the Omega Red body, Hercules, and Gladiator. Let me put Gladiator right here next to Vulcan. And yeah, man, this Hyperion body mold was supposed to be replaced by the Omega Red body mold, and I don't believe it, man, especially when Crossbones came out about 2 years ago in the Crimson Dynamo Build-A-Figure wave. Missed opportunity. He should have been on this mold. Ideally, he would be better on this Hercules body, and I do want to see this again because I would love to see characters like Gladiator redone in this body mold. Or Sentry. We need an updated Sentry. I think Sentry would fit much better on this Hercules body than the Omega Red body mold. This I like for the more bulkier brute characters like Venom and Sabretooth. I wish I had the new Beyond Amazing Spider-Man with the toe joints in hand. I don't, but there's the retro one. Now, you know, for characters like Moon Knight, Daredevil, they should not be on the Vulcan mold. No way. You got to give it to that Spider-Man with the toe joints. Those need to be redone. This would be perfect for characters such as Wonder Man or Marvel. Definitely Black Bolt, and as I mentioned earlier, Exodus. Since I mentioned Black Bolt, I had to bring him out here for comparison, so here he is. And I brought out a basic female figure just so you can see how it lines up next to this Vulcan figure. So definitely brought out Lalandra on the Silver Sable body. And finally, here he is next to his fellow wave mate and former best friend, Darwin. Darwin review is on deck. Alright, and now to wrap things up, my final rating is an 8 out of 10. Look, I talked a lot in the review as I went in depth, but I pretty much said what I needed to say, so I'll keep this short. My rating is based off of being a standard base body. Is it perfect? No. But with the right tweaks made over time, it'll serve as a good base going forward. For a standard base body, I look for a sculpt that doesn't sacrifice articulation and vice versa. There's some sacrifice in the torso, as you saw some of the sculpt protruding from the forward and back crunch. Again, some tweaks need to be made, especially with the wonky ankles QC I ran into. But at least the rest of the body has a good balance. One of my biggest letdowns is the accessories. You have arguably Marvel's greatest energy manipulator of all time, and not giving him any new energy effects is just criminal. WTF, man. Same BS they pulled with AOA X-Man. Refer to my review of him for some energy effects you can pull off. But Vulcan here has a lot of flexibility for display. You can put him with your classic giant-sized X-Men team since Deadly Genesis was a canonical addition. You can also put him with your X-Men villains, House of X, and Cosmic Displays, just to name a few. It's a new era for Legends here, and at the end of the day, I think you'll be quite pleased, as this figure is a lot of fun to pose around. It's good to see that the new base body starts off with an awesome X-Men character that I absolutely love. Now I kick it back to you. What are your thoughts on Vulcan and this new base body? What characters you think would make for some great candidates on this new mold? Comment below, let me know, we'll chat about it. That was my review. Please follow me on Instagram at xmanny87. Hit the notification bell so you always know when my latest videos are up. Share and subscribe if you're new. Enjoy the pics at the end of the video. See you on the next review. Peace, peace.